Man, let me tell you, in case any of y'all didn't get a chance, check out Lionel Nation's video on the solar eclipse because we line up pretty good. It was like, okay, there's going to be an eclipse today. And I live in a state where we were going to get 78% eclipse, which to my eye, I could see that the sunlight wasn't as bright as usual, and the shadow from the house and the light on the yard started to really match pretty closely. In other words, there was just like an ambient light, but I don't know. I'm with Lionel Nation. If your whole world for the last 2 weeks has revolved around the eclipse with everything going on in our modern age, and you spent your morning and your day today wrapped around this, unless you're Locke and you got the day off of school or something like that, then you know what, man, go stare at the sun. Just keep looking. And I'm quoting Lionel at this time. I'm not advocating anybody to ruin their corneas or whatnot. But yeah, go stare at the sun. Just stare straight at it as long as you want. Forget about the box and the daggone glasses or whatever. Just go look right at it. You don't need them eyes anyway. You obviously don't read. How y'all doing today?
Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Not too sure what was going on with look at the sun and blind yourself little rant. But apart from that, yeah, not too bad. How are you doing over in the States, Locke? Yep, go on.
It's done pretty good. I've noticed like a life hack type thing. So there's two things I've noticed. So the first thing you can do if you have a strong hate for Jake Paul, just stare at the sun. Guaranteed you'll never see him again. Then second of all, if your girlfriend keeps taking a bunch of selfies all the time and it's very annoying, all you got to do is take her phone, and this is a good fun prank, and take a picture of the eclipse, because then guaranteed it's going to mess up the lens and she won't be able to take a bunch of annoying selfies again. So pretty good. There's some advice for everyone watching.
Hey, we didn't rehearse that, man. He had no idea that I was going to do that crazy go stare at the sun rant. So that's good advice from a young man and an old man. We agree on that, Brett. That's how us Yanks are, though. We're a little weird. And it was a buildup, man. That's all I'm saying. It was like this big buildup. I went and stood on my porch for about 40 minutes and looked around, and my chickens kind of acted weird.
Over here, we've been given the delight of the BBC, who basically do rolling news. Really been showing us the eclipse again and again and again. Not that it is a repeat. No. We are getting the eclipse from some tiny little place in Kentucky, and then we're getting the eclipse again from some tiny little place in Kentucky, just 100 miles down the road. Oh. You just think, I'm sorry, but what's the point? It is exactly the same thing you're showing us again. And every single time they're interviewing people who have never been interviewed before, who basically just become monosyllabic. So basically, so how does it feel? How does it feel to see the eclipse? How is this majestic experience for you? And they just go, fine.
It's cool, but overhyped.
Sorry?
It's cool, but overhyped. Everyone's making a bigger deal.
Yes, I think overhyped is perhaps the right word. And I think they haven't quite cottoned onto it yet that it isn't really a televisual experience.
No. In fact, it's so
there, and you get to witness it, or it is of absolutely no value whatsoever, because there is nothing that kind of comes across by seeing it on television.
What's incredible to me is that that there's a state called Kentucky. It's why would you even know that? I couldn't. Are there states or is it just Ireland, Scotland, England, Isle of Wight?
Of course we know what the names of the states are over there. We've been planning for years. One day we'll be back.
We're the most focused country. So I've noticed, speaking to a bunch of people online, they pay a lot of attention to America. Some people from other countries literally know more than America about some Americans. I've noticed.
Yeah, of course they do.
Ridiculous.
That's not the case with you, Locke. I'm not going to give you an exam right now, but that's not the case with you.
I would hope, but however, there's this one Northern Ireland dude. I don't know if he knows more than me, but it's definitely a possibility.
Well, I'm sure there's foreigners, if any. It might be the Britisher. we were doing a little back and forth off air one time where, he was trying to guess states, capitals, and I was trying to guess. The one that got me, Britt, is you said the Netherlands. And I was going, oh, the Netherlands. I can't remember what my answer was, but I was so worried you were going to give me a hard. It's Amsterdam, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I was so worried you were going to give me a hard one that when you threw in the Netherlands instead of Holland, which I would have thought of that. Anyway. Yeah, it's a shame. It's incumbent upon every one of us, though, to educate ourselves. Because I seen this debate today on Twitter, and it was that, should we have the school educating young people, or should we have the family? Well, you should have both. But as soon as possible, both of them should be telling the human being that's coming up into whatever to be themselves, to study for themselves and to make their own opinions, to draw their own conclusions.
No, definitely. We touched on that yesterday, didn't we? Where we were saying, and Locke was saying as well, that he likes to do all of his own research and follow his own sort of ideas and try and find out what's being given out there rather than just being spoon-fed all the time. And yeah, go on.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, carry on, mate. Carry on. Not a problem.
As I said earlier, or last time yesterday, it's the whole situation with the sheep. They read everything and they immediately believe it. Exactly.
And unfortunately, the education system and the people just don't seem to want to follow anything, as in they don't want to do anything. If they're told, oh, the sun's going to blow up tomorrow, they'll be like, oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough. Well, why is that? Oh, because solar flares. That's what it is. Yeah, solar flares. Oh, okay. Yeah. And people don't seem to actually do anything anymore. Selfie time.
I gotta shout out this stream. I gotta shout out this stream on Snapchat. I did a duck face because the thing about girls, they take the most awkward, ridiculous selfies, and usually I like making fun of them a little bit. So
you're gonna do a duck face? You said do it.
You missed it.
You can't don't do that.
You already did it.
Yeah, I know. I've seen it. It's like, wow, that's unreal. Good one. Good, brother. I mean, you got to be you, man. You got to be. I would never I'm not a homophobic or anything like that, bro. It's cool.
Got to get used to the 2017 generations. People's like, do you want to see my grandma from a long time ago? Then it's like a picture of her doing a duck face.
Oh, mercy sake! But that's like a thing for girls to just look good, right?
It's weird though. Like, just don't even get me started.
Not cool.
Yeah, I don't think we can go down that road. British will shut it down because it's just you can imagine what the lips are fixing to do in that position, and that's what is that's attractive. It's not that the pose or they look good there. It's like, ooh, she looks like she's just about ready to have some ice cream or something on the cone.
Ice cream.
I would have gone with a popsicle over there. Wouldn't that have been more fitting?
Popsicle, lollipop, corn on the cob. Yeah, I thought of a lot, but. We have to crack on in the right direction though, and I guess we are too. It's eventually I'm going to play this clip that I have here, Locke. It looks like it comes from Crank's mishearing truck rage, and but in fact, look, I'm just going to play it right now. Let me see. I need to practice anyway, if you'll bear with me, and then we can jump right off because what we'll do is us old men will just keep trying to be cool and. Hopefully fall in the pocket or whatever, and you never know. Maybe it'll just be boring. So let's do this. This is a little snippet, and Locke, you just stop me when you think we've heard enough.
Hello?
Hello, are you selling the truck?
Who the is this?
I'm just asking, are you selling the truck?
I ain't doing no drugs, you sorry son of a
The truck.
is this?
The truck.
Who the is this?
It's a truck.
And what?
My name is Harold.
Who?
Harold.
How?
Do you want me to spell it for you? H as in herpes. Oh wait, you didn't. It's Harold.
Who the is this? How? Who?
Harold Smith.
I don't know who the you are, but this don't do no drugs or any pills. You can lose this number, or I'm gonna call the cops on you.
Okay, you could stop it like right here. This is good.
Oh yeah,
It keeps on going. But I just realized how annoying that center sound is. I had it turned up way too much.
No, that was great.
And
Look,
that-
man, I would just say very quickly before we delve into this hilarity. To me, it's very funny. This doesn't represent all Southern people, but if you go anywhere in the world and you run into some of these folks that are just I don't know, nasty by nature. So I guess if anything, unless you just want to explain to me, how is it that you came? Okay, how did you get turned on to calling this person about a truck? You just got it out of the daggone wanted ads?
Okay, so what happened is my friend sent me this ad on Facebook. I called in because, like, by the way, this friend has gave me prank calls to do in the past, and usually they're like really good. So I like called this number on the ad, and I asked about the truck. And after like she flipped out on me after the call, I called my friend. I was like, "Yo, was this a setup? This had to be fake." But then I kept watching the video over and over, and I eventually realized she thought I said drugs, and I was like, I don't know. I couldn't have redone that if I tried. Honestly. And also, just to say, like, that voice is like low key cringy, but people fall for it. So
I thought it was funny. It was great.
Oh,
You
they
know
said
my
it,
favorite
yeah.
voice that you do, but you disguise your voice very well.
I don't know.
The old man. It sounds like I've been to so many like corner stores in the South. That is the old man that sits by the door in a chair. You know, no matter if it's 98 degrees, don't matter. January, he's probably got a coat on or something, but don't matter. He's sitting out there. He's usually smoking a Pall Mall non-filter or something like that, or rolling his own out of a baggie. that's it. He knows everything too, the dude, and it sounds just like that voice to me. That's what takes me back. It's so reassuring.
and I can just imagine like that old man sitting there just complaining about everything a kid does, like the kids around him. It's just that grumpy old man that's just all he does is complain. Or I can imagine.
But was there any sort of inspiration on them type of voices, or any inspiration on any of the voices? Obviously not going into any names or anything, but just like the little bit of motivation that you might have had to like pick up on different things. Is it something that you just come up completely on your own, or was there like little bits of inspiration around the world that you picked up on?
Well, randomly, I called my grandma. No, wait, let me rewind. I'm going to explain this like little by little. Okay, so I left my dad a voicemail and I changed my number, and he literally thought a grandma called him and was lost. And I was bored. I was in a room by myself because I literally had nothing to do. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to just start making random voices. I don't know. This is when I was much younger. So like when people are younger, they just do stupid stuff. So then I started like making up these voices. And when I called my dad and left him a voicemail, he thought it was like a real grandma who called him. And I was like, hey, if he believes it, then this is like a good sign. So I later prank called my grandma, and my dad got a recorder and recorded my grandma's reaction. And she fell for it too. So I was like, and when I did this, my brother and my dad was watching the prank call with me and like recorded it on his recorder. And I was like, hey, if they enjoy me like prank calling people, why don't I just like do it to the public? So then that's how like the grandma voice happened. Then after that, I just kind of like winged everything else.
Yeah, fair enough. That's actually quite interesting that he's just started doing random voices. You got picked up and you got the support of your family around you, and you just thought, yeah, why not? That's how good business is done. That's how
And I
free
don't know if
markets
you
is
kept
done.
track really closely, but do you know how many different characters do you have compiled so far?
Well, there's a lot of voices that I don't really use. So, and they're just kind of there. There's like the old lady voice, which I call Susan, and a lot of people prefer as Smoker. I've noticed that's like everyone's favorite.
Well,
And I'm sorry that there's like trucks in the background. Then also the next one that came, and I'm saying it in order when they came out, is like a little kid. It sounds like this, and it's just like
yes.
it's called Timothy, and it's just like I usually try to mispronounce things on purpose, and I say a bunch of like dumb things just to like make it seem more like a little kid. And I think the black cat prank call that you like, Ogre, I'm pretty sure like didn't the little kid was the little kid in there, I think? Or
Oh
was
yeah,
the
it was
old
a
lady?
little kid, and then finally the little kid got the grandma because the little kid wanted to get some black cats, some kitty cats, but the old lady was just a jerk, and was just had black cat fireworks. But yes, eventually the smoker had to get out of there and set stuff straight. Very, very smart little 2-minute piece. I can hardly talk about it without at least smiling.
Thank you.
Very well done.
Then actually, I originally wanted to do a smoke bomb prank call for 4th of July, but then I didn't like really do it because I didn't want like bad connection to happen, and they just think I said bomb, and I felt like it was kind of risky. I don't know.
I can't believe the Britisher hasn't asked you this already, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. Does this creative spark that you have, and bear with us, man, you're young, but you're pretty mature. So if you want to answer your question, answer it. If you don't, just say, you know what, Ogre, I don't want to answer that. But does this ever bleed into your the real world and the real life, your real life? And I imagine you in class, do you get in trouble, kid? That's what I'm asking you. Do you find that sometimes your sense of humor gets you into a little bit of trouble in school and whatnot?
I think people who know me easily know this answer because I invited like a few people to the live stream already, and so they'll probably tune in. But let me answer the previous question about like how many voices. Then I'll get to that. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Rock and roll. Yeah.
Okay. So then after like the little kid voice, there's the nerd.
It sounds like this, and I really like video games, and I'm a feminist, and girls matter,
whatever the crap. I couldn't really like wing it right off the bat, but you get the point. It's kind of like squeaky, basic nerd. And I feel like I kind of look like a nerd with the glasses and the braces. So there's been a few times where I go to people in public and I act like I'm a nerd, and it's like usually a pretty funny outcome. Then the other main voice is the old man, which you just saw in the Mishearing Truck Rage. There's no point of redoing it. It has improved a little bit since time, and over time my voices just keep kind of improving. And those are the main voices. Those are the 4 voices. Yeah, okay. I'm actually raising up 4 fingers. That's good. Because for some reason I thought I was raising more than 4 fingers, but that's off topic. Anyway, sorry, I'm ADHD. I'm probably like a mess right now. I'm like jumping over the walls and stuff. But
crack on.
Okay.
You're doing fine, mate. You're doing fine.
So then the other voices I use, I've one time used a Mickey Mouse voice, but once I got older, I couldn't really do that, and you can assume why. I'm not just gonna say. I'm just gonna leave it at that because that answer should be obvious why I couldn't do it. I can still do a Donald Duck voice, kind of, but I can't really say anything in that voice. Then there's also like this demon voice. I don't really know. Apparently, it's creepy. Some of my viewers think it's creepy. So
you've got to do it now.
It sounds like this. How are you? And sometimes I like breathe into the mic like this. I don't know. I don't know how my viewers find it creepy, but whatever.
I've heard it so far. Every one of the ones that you just did, I've heard at one time or another on your channel.
This is. I saved this one for last because everyone loves this, and a lot of people actually asked me to sing this at school. Maybe y'all aren't familiar with this, but there's like this SpongeBob song where he's like the Krusty Krab pizza, and I can sing it exactly like him. Do you know what I'm talking about? You probably don't.
I've seen it on your channel. So you do the Krusty Krab, but I don't know if it was this. But yes, I've seen you do the SpongeBob.
For all us British people, why don't you give us a
I'm going to mute myself because I'm going to try to crack up while you're doing your spiel.
I could probably do it if you want to, but it's been a while.
Give us a little
bit.
No, I don't care what you do.
Give us a little bit because I haven't heard it, to be honest with you. So if you don't,
the Krusty Krab pizza. Oh crap, I can't do it. But it's been a while. I'm rusty. So like just look up the prank call on my channel, Krusty Krab Pizza, and it should be better on there.
All right, so back to my question: how many times have you been suspended last year?
I think it was 2, but at my old school, yeah,
you've not really been suspended, but I imagine that you may.
No, I actually have.
Okay, well that's cool. Is it too much to ask? Because whatever.
I get in trouble quite a lot because like I do things out of the way to be funny, but ever since high school, I've chilled down a little bit because like middle school is not as strict. And I feel like, high school, you got to mature like somewhat. So I've chilled down since then. And depending on the teacher I have, I joke with them. Sorry.
To the same extent, if you have a goal in mind, remember this. all of the good comics, all of the good actors, all of the good personas. Maybe not all, but because you can never say all, right? Just like Islam, not all, right? But a lot of them, that was their high school career. It was getting in trouble. It was, and it's because in a lot of ways, everybody else is honing their skill, right? They're doing arithmetic and reading and all that good stuff. And you're busy, I'm sure, learning English and writing because you're writing jokes and whatnot, and getting the English. But in the end, you got to do what you got to do. And we should respect class clowns, in my opinion. We should, and it won't get you out of any trouble, Lock, but we should respect class clowns as much as we do the class geek, the one that does trigonometry in the 7th grade.
Unless they try too hard, because there's some people who like try way too hard and it's like really cringy and like the class just sits there in silence and it's just like really awkward. But the people who are actually funny and can make people laugh, yes, I agree. So for the most part, I do agree. There's actually 2 stories that stick out to me the most about me getting in trouble, if you want me to explain.
Yeah, go on.
Okay, so hold up. There was this one story. I'm trying to figure out which one to start with. Okay, so I know that. Okay, so for some reason, the teacher wouldn't let us go outside. And there's like 2 doors in the classroom, one that leads straight outside and one that leads into the hallway that you can go outside. And everyone was like standing beside the door trying to get outside to like the entrance to get outside. So the teacher was distracted and people were like begging the teacher to let them go outside. And so I snuck out through the hallway and I went outside and I like made a circle and I came back through the other door. And the teacher was like so mad because there was literally students complaining about not them going outside. Then I just like appear from outside. I'm surprised I didn't get in trouble, but it was the teacher's first year. And literally word for word, not exactly, but like pretty much what she said is she was like, this is my first year of teaching. I can't lose a student. That was a funny experience. I can't remember the other story as I wanted to say, but there's like one story.
So when it comes to comedy as such, I mean, where would you say, what would you say are your sort of famous, favorite comics? Who is sort of your inspiration, if you know what I mean?
Honestly, there's like no one that really inspires me besides YouTubers. But if I had to decide, there's this one dude on America's Got Talent. Do y'all watch America's Got Talent? Or anyone?
Sometimes on YouTube.
Reruns on YouTube or anything?
Sometimes on
YouTube. I say I know the program, but I don't watch it live. No.
There's this guy on America's Got Talent, Preacher Lawson. He's amazing. I wouldn't say he inspires me, but he's definitely funny and he's one of my favorite comedians.
Oh, I know who that is. Black guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very funny. I've seen him all over. That guy.
He's energetic. He's great. I love him.
Because I mean, yesterday Jerry Lewis died, and of course he was very much known for being someone who was hyper. Yes, Jerry Lewis has died. Have you not heard?
That wasn't in the week that was it? No, it must have been after. I didn't know.
No, it came in much too late for that.
I didn't know, Brett. No, this is the first I've heard of it, man. That just kind of broke my heart, man.
No, and he was very much someone who was into voices and into, he could, so I was just sort of wondering whether there would be any kind of influences like that, but obviously there isn't.
But if I like had to choose, there is a prankster or pranker, I don't know, whatever you call it, on YouTube named Onage Pranks. They do a bunch of voices. Then there's also someone on YouTube named Friday Night Cranks. They do some pretty good prank calls as well. So
what would you say is the most? What would you say is the most elaborate prank you've done so far?
That's a good question. Like honestly, the most well thought out prank had to be a prank on my friend, where I guess what happened is me and my friend were in a prank war, and the beginning of the prank war literally got me suspended. You probably remember me mentioning me getting like suspended. It was technically in-school suspension, but that's still suspended because I texted him pretending to be a clown, and apparently I made terroristical threats, but I swear to God I didn't. If I went to court, I could okay, so sorry, I'm getting triggered. I need to calm down. Talking about it, it's such bullcrap. I got in-school suspension for it because I literally said I like kids, and they said I was threatening his nephews. Sorry, I spit.
Yeah, no, quit being sorry and stay in character. I'm still going back to the Brit. I just want to give you one more chance. So you said there was these prankster people, but other than the preacher, who is it that, and if not who, because I think I asked you yesterday and there was really no, I mean, but something has to have inspired you to go this route. So without getting all cringy again, what is it, man? I mean, what is it that's inspired you to do this? Or who is it that you followed? Just this one? Tell me that name again too. In fact, do you know that your channel links to that? What you just said there, that what'd you say? You're the prank. I just slipped out of my mind because as soon as you said it, pardon me.
The most elaborate prank you were saying?
No.
What you're talking about?
Who inspired you? You said a YouTuber called
Friday Night Cranks.
Right, that's it. Because when you watch your channel, there are suggestions to go and watch them from your channel.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know if that's just because it's a huge prank thing, but so Sam Kinnison's. Do you know who Sam Kinnison was?
I have no clue. I'm sorry.
All right, that's because I'm old, man. So it's like I said, look, I won't go on this fan anymore. But when Britt asked you that question, that is kind of like, to me, that's what I want to know. What is it that inspired you to get suspended by going into a prank war with someone, and then to put your escapades to a pretty good extent on YouTube, where you show yourself, making jackasses out of people if you can.
But then once the prank war started, I did this prank where I prank called someone I knew called JJ. And this is, as I was saying, this is my most elaborate prank. And when I prank called JJ, I prank called in that demon voice that I showed earlier that can tend to be creepy. And I got my friend JJ, when I was prank calling him at the end, to say he's calling the cops. And my friend Carter was with me. And I was like, I was pretending to freak out. And I was like, oh, crap, he's calling the cops. And I was keep pretending to get scared because Carter hates cops. And I probably said too much already. But he hates cops. So when he said the cops were when he was calling the cops, I was just like, okay, maybe he's not. But keep in mind, this is all a prank on Carter. So then later on, I got my grandma to call me, and she's the best actress ever. I swear I could literally see her in Hollywood. She flipped out saying the cops showed up at her house looking for me, and Carter flipped out. It was hilarious. did that make sense, or was it just another prank?
You got your grandma involved in the prank?
Mm-hmm.
But you still
just her voice.
But this is something that you got you doing her voice or her saying these things?
I got her voice when I called her. I got her involved, or rather, she called me saying the cops were here.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. Anyway, I'm just curious. I mean, in the end, this is why I believe in a rigid protection of speech. And look, I'll go on another long rant, but the Britisher had some great questions. I bet the Common Sense guy does too. We're gonna roll. I mean, we got another, at least 27 minutes going along this happy vein before we talk about some deeper stuff. So hit him up, boys. I mean, and look, this is my feeling, Britt. And I got to say to anybody, some people are going to watch your channel as the subsequent viewings of this go on, Lock. Mm-hmm. And they're going to be like, oh, this, just isn't funny. It just isn't for me. Well, I'm not going to say for them people kiss my butt. Or it's comedy is very subjective. And so I think there's going to be a percentage of people that laugh their guts out, and there's going to be a small percentage of people that look at that and go, well, it's a young man having a go at some unsuspecting crooks. Those are my favorites too, kid. When you get those Indian folk on the line, and now once I say this, because hopefully this is leading, if not, let the boys have at you. But when you get those Indian folks on the line, man, and I ain't being racist unless you are. I blame you if you're being racist, but I don't think you pick them. I think they just don't. You get them on the line and you make fools out of them. And man, that makes me feel good. Because how many fools do you think they've made out of people by stealing their money?
Exactly. And the thing is, I wouldn't really consider myself racist, but to an extent, I do make some edgy jokes that can be controversial. But that's the closest thing to racist. At one point, I called the Indians, the Indian scammers, and I said, "Do you work at Dell Tech Support?" Because there's a bunch of Indians who work at Dell Tech Support. I don't know if you consider that racist. I just think it's a little bit edgy, but
that's because they're call centers in India.
Exactly. So some people may consider that racist. Then, as I said,
no, it ain't racist, man. No, It's not. It's just not, because I mean I've called him too. I had a Dell. I think the Britisher has a Dell. He's like a Dell hardcore Dell guy. Every time you call him, where is it from? Brit's like Delhi. You know, you call him into Delhi. Hello, I'm from Bangladesh. My name is Tom Cruise. How may I help you today, Brit? You know, and you're like, your name's Tom Cruise, and you know they tell you that, right, Brit? You're talking to these people. It's like, it's some lady. It's like, hello, how may I help you today with your Dell problem? And you're like, my name is Nicole Kidman. It's like, no, your name's not Nicole Kidman. Let's start there. What's your real name?
It's always the fakest name too. It's like the cheesiest name. It's like Bob something, like, or Phil or something overused, like Jack, or it's ridiculous.
Oh man.
Meanwhile, their name's like, never mind.
No, go ahead, man. Ain't no censorship here. We do try not to cuss a lot, and it's not because you're here. We just try not to because we want people to watch us. We don't want to offend anybody. That's self-censorship.
No, I'm not gonna go down that route on live.
Oh, good. Well,
it's probably for the better.
There's a difference between someone telling you you can't do something, and from you taking a step back and saying, well, you know what, I shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference in that. I just noticed today. Well, we got a little bit more time here. Come on, boys, press this kid. I'm going to mute myself for 10 minutes and let y'all kill this kid.
I mean, when it comes to the voices you can do, do you see yourself doing anything with that in future?
I would like to do voice acting. I have received like maybe about 3 comments. I know that's not much, but like 3 comments saying they would love to see me on TV. If I can get successful on YouTube before I go to college, then okay. So let me just explain my full plan instead of just like skipping around. I would like to get successful on YouTube before I go to college. So then if I'm successful on YouTube, I can move out to LA. And if I'm successful on YouTube, people like TV companies and stuff, they'll look into that and I have a higher chance of like doing something, you know?
Yeah. Because
but in no way I'm never going to abandon YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, the reason I ask that is because, when one hears some of these voices, one could even imagine 1 or 2 of those voices on The Simpsons, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, my proudest voice is like the nerd and the old lady. So if I like ever voice acted, it would probably be the nerd or the old lady. So.
Yeah, no, I'll say because I could well imagine that over time you'll be able to build up a repertoire, and you definitely already seem to have 2 or 3 voices there which are definite winners, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, one just sort of wonders, if you can sort of see that too, and sort of wonder, if you sort of, obviously you can't make any definite plans at 15, but whether you kind of have any dreams of kind of, wanting to take that further. But as you say, you're sort of thinking yourself that perhaps you would be able to do voice acting in that regard. And I could see that very well. I could see that working very much, just given the sheer creativity you seem to have with the voices.
But if worse comes to worse and like nothing turns out the way I want to, because I would love to become successful on YouTube, then just kind of like use it as like a starting platform, if that makes sense, but still use YouTube. But if worse comes to worse and like never happens, I would also like to be a truck driver. So that's like a bonus fact, I guess.
Man, you're kidding. Truck driver, huh? You're
talking to the right person there with Mr. Ogre.
Yeah, I did that to fill some time for a little while. I actually came out of school and I had a degree in divinity and a degree in psychology, and I drove truck for a while because I couldn't make the same kind of money. I mean, I bought my own truck now, and there's a whole big thing there. So, but even if you're a company, anyway, no, I would say this, man. If you're independent, it's dying right now, and I don't want to derail this. Are you serious? You're not shitting? You want to be a truck driver?
If like nothing happens, if like nothing goes the way I want to, yes.
Can you tell me the state you live in, or does that make you feel uncomfortable?
Tennessee. If you can tell by my accent, I'm redneck. So.
Mate, I worked for Western Express out of Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm gonna tell you what: if you live in Tennessee, you'll be home every weekend, because everything runs through Tennessee in this country. If you want to be a truck driver and you live in Tennessee and you like to be home more than once every month or once every 2 months, like it was for me, well, then you live in the perfect spot.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They also make good money, so, and I really like.
Oh man, real good, dude. You can and here's the cool thing. Let me tell you real quick before we move on. When you're a truck driver, somebody makes your meals and picks up the dirty dishes. You go and take a shower and throw the towels on the floor and somebody picks them up. You don't ever, if you're not just in a truck stop, and where I'm talking about, because, I mean, if you've ever been to a big truck stop, they got showers and stuff, you don't clean nothing. You don't do nothing. It's all laid out. Hot towels, man. You tell the guy down there with the cart when you go in and take shower, tell him, I want some hot towels, man. Hit up my door in about 20 minutes. And they'll bam, 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 bam. You open the door, they pass you like 4 hot towels right out of the, and you don't, and so boom, if you're not there, you're off into the motel room. All I'm saying is, look, if that's something you want to do it. Be intelligent, though. You don't need a ton of money to live. So, do it as long as you want, but save that money, man. You don't have to have no rent when you're young and you're going to do that.
Can I just point something out here? Given that the ogre has just been showing the complete positives of truck driving, I might just sort of pour a bit of cold water on that from another perspective. And that is that I do not know how much time there would actually be for a truck driving career. Because with self-driving cars coming along, one of the and we already know that there are also self-driving trucks out there on the road being tested. It looks as if that is an industry where a great many people are going to be put out of a job.
Do you know what a brakeman does on a train nowadays? Do you know what a brakeman does?
Tell me.
He gets paid. On a train today that no one needs to be on. This is on rails, completely computer driven. Even though these people are here, there's 3 people on a train. The conductor, the engineer, the fireman, Brett, the fireman, for putting coal, and the brakeman. And there's no godly reason for all of them. My opinion, and I believe this will be the way it is, that it will be at least 100 years from the time they have fully driving. And there's farmers here too. Before I put the final point on this, farmers here, their tractors have been driving themselves for years. There's still a farmer in every tractor, still, even though it's been 2 decades. They don't need, what they do is they turn them around, which they don't have to do. And then they put it in the GPS, and the GPS keeps the roads perfectly straight as they go down the 7-mile stretch of, whatever they're doing, plowing, planting, whatever. So it'll be, in my mind, it'll be 100 years. And the only thing that will change is Locke would have to go from changing gears and driving that son of a bitch. And it's not easy, Locke. It's not easy. Not if you want to do it right. Not if you don't want to be somebody out there killing innocent people and being a dipshit. If you want to handle that rig and realize this is a job, and every second you're driving 80,000 pounds down the road, you've got to be focused on what you're doing.
It's not fun if there's not a challenge.
But anyway, I think it will take 100 years, man, before the driver is pulled out of the cab. And to me, that would be so much better. He wouldn't even have to drive. He would just sit there and make sure the machine was running right. So there you go. I've heard that argument, though, Britt, so much. There's going to be self-driving this and whatever. Even if it's self-driving, it doesn't mean that there won't need to be an operator in that self-driving rig. Again, the only difference is you can do it this way now, Brett. You got your favorite audiobook on.
Right. I'm not quite as optimistic in that regard as you are.
No, we are very seldom are we equally optimistic, Berkshire.
There is that, yes.
I think that's why we make such
as the audience knows, it is because you are wrong on so many things.
Yeah, all the time, except for the 90% of the time you're wrong. No, hey, look, it's Locke. We'll rag on each other here next hour. I tell you what, though, young man, I think you can see. Here's the deal. Whether all the panel here loves your comedy or doesn't love it, and I won't tell you if it's all of us or none of us. You have done something that it was me. I don't even remember how it was brung to me. I think that it was a recommendation in another video or something. And I watched the call. It was one of the ones where you go do the Indian thing and they're trying to sell you something. They were trying to give you $100 gift card. And what you're doing is striking a chord.
Thank you. Those are like the Indian ones are easily like my favorite. So. And keep in mind about the truck driving thing, that's just like a backup thing if like the whole YouTube route doesn't work, but it's just like food for thought. So
Shoot, do both, man. I mean, anyway, we won't stay on that because, as you can see,
I was
it's
going
like,
to say one thing on when it comes to doing the different stuff with YouTube and things like that. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. I am going to be a really old man. First of all, go with your degree, do the college, do YouTube on the side, not a problem, but do your college, my friend, because you've got something to fall back on just in case. And
In case
that's
your
just from an
channel,
old man.
fair enough. In case your channel dies like you're Jake Paul and you're an idiot.
Or if you mean you can't even get your channel off of the ground.
it's starting to go down, but he's right. I mean, what better advice, Britisher? What would one put all his eggs in one basket if one had a brain?
One would have to be a lion, I suppose, and just not have a heart instead. Be brave. One would have to be brave. One would have to be a lion.
That's for damn sure. Oh, well, let's remember the Lion and the Wizard of Oz. You know, he didn't have any courage. He had to get it somehow.
Hence why I picked it, because I'm sure that you were alluding to that point.
I love that. I love that. I'll tell you what, though, Locke. What it comes down to is chasing one's dreams. And for me, don't take this the wrong way. I am not here to give you advice. If you take any advice that I give you, you are damned to hell and deserve to be there. So I'm just going to tell you, sometimes when you're in the pursuit of your dream, you'll get an in-school suspension. You know, you'll get dressed down by a teacher. I doubt the Britisher read it, but we were talking about writing stuff, and I sent him a little thing that I did in college. I think it was 2001, and I was asked by a English professor to tell them pretty much Breakfast Club style why I deserved to pass their class, and I did. I failed that class. I got a C-, which means you take it again in college. So, and I stood up. I did it anyway. I could have dropped. I mean, there's so many things. I'm using that because I just did it. But I could have dropped that class. I could have made many different choices. But it's always important to stand your ground. That, sir, is why I love your hat.
Southern pride. Thank you. And I'm sorry, like, if there's anyone on, like, the viewing this stream, if they're offended by it. I'm in the South, and I just think it's Southern pride. The way, like, America's, like, shifting it to be is ridiculous. I will say that. The way it's going, I don't like it. But, like, it's Southern pride, so.
Well, you must hate people of color. I mean, really, Locke, look, you must hate black people. I mean, I'm sure when you, like, are eating your dinner and a black people come into the diner like they must in Tennessee, everywhere, a lot of black folk there, that you get up and you just huffily leave because you will not eat in the same room, right? Because of that hat.
Exactly. That's the exact situation. That's why Ben Carson, I wish he was president right now. That's exactly why.
And you're serious, right? You like Ben Carson?
Mm-hmm.
I liked him too, man. He was like right on the top of my list. I just realized I was screen sharing you for about an hour. Sorry about that, young man. If anybody sees that again in the future, just remind me that I'm in control of this thing here. No, but it's funny that folks would label you, though. I see you got the humor in that, but now tell people the truth so they don't take this out of context 5 years from now when you're a millionaire comedian. So you don't like black folk?
They're great people. Like, there's as with white people, there's bad white people, there's bad black people, there's bad people for every race. You know? But then there's good people with it.
Yeah, well, tell us about it. Go ahead, expand on that if you can.
I'm
or not. I'm
trying to think of the best response without saying too much.
Say all you want, young man. You got all the platform you want right here. You say whatever you want.
I'll try to get back to that and
okay. Yeah, no, I'm good at that.
So
what I do is my job is to put people on the spot, man. That is my job. So sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. But I would say this: I wouldn't want anyone. I'm watching a Black Rebel today. He's got a very small YouTube channel. You know, he's getting struck down. The Britisher covered it, if I'm not mistaken. I watched a couple things today, but I think he covered it in the week that was that Google is taking down the KKK from having websites. They won't even have them on their server. And man, they've put me in the horrible position, panel, of defending the Ku Klux. I can't even say it out loud. I'm freaking Jewish, man. So I gotta, and I said that for a reason, because people, if they hear me defend the KKK, they'll be like, this guy's KKK. I can't be KKK. You know what? All I got to say to anybody that calls me white supremacist, I can't be one. I'm Jewish. They won't have me.
It's censorship, and like obviously, if you haven't noticed, Google is like just ran by a bunch of liberals. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I won't press you no more when you seem to trail off. I'll just assume that's the last thought you have on that idea. Yeah, I don't know if we've lost a Britisher. A Brit. Every time you've spoken, it sounded crystal clear. I put it in the thing. Oh, I see. I just look. I'm looking at like 5 different things. Life goes on while we do this. But look, folks, we've got 10 minutes left with just focusing on Lock as best we can. And Lock, I thank you so much, young man, because you've been so cool to us. Because let's face it, you know, we're talking about, I'm 43 years old, man. I mean, there is a gulf between you and I that is, it's very wide, is that gulf. And there's so much different about a 15-year-old man and a 43-year-old man. So I just want to thank you, man, for being so cool and trying to, I mean, you've been really great today is what I'm trying to tell you. You went out of your way to see how can I fit in with these old men and sound like I'm cool and be relevant. You've done such a wonderful job, boy.
Thank you for having me. Last time, in no way, shape, or form, like I gained about like 5 or 6 subscribers, and you don't need to thank me. If anything, I need to thank you because you're helping me. So,
hey, that's nice. Thank you for that. No, I think you're doing really well anyway, mate. And personally, from watching yesterday's stream to today's stream, you have come out of your shell, and you are actually doing really well on doing the live streams. And as you said before, this is something that you need to practice, and you really are doing a lot better. And that's not just me trying to pander to you either. That's just my opinion on it.
I think it's because like I had more time to like prepare than also like practice from last time.
Well, it's been a slow day today too, but I'll tell you what, man, since you work with Joey Salads, yeah, I just threw that out there. And since I just realized we took this whole show and you haven't even talked about the Paul guy. And instead of like the last hour, because we got another hour and 8 minutes left, and we will go into some other political things, but I was watching your Twitter feed and then I see you got a new video up. What's going on, man, with these Paul people?
Okay, so pretty much a while back, Jake Paul had a girlfriend named Alyssa Violet. And this is a long story. I feel like I can make a Bible out of this, to be honest. So I'm going to try to shorten it as much as possible. Jake Paul broke up with Alyssa Violet, and Alyssa Violet claimed that he abused her. Later on, everyone was like, okay, just like relationship crap. Someone's trying to spread crap. Okay, no big deal. Relationship drama. Who really cares? So then after a while, more crap came out about Jake Paul. Jake Paul was literally in his backyard setting a bunch of chairs on fire. The fire went over his house, and the smoke went into his neighbor's house through the window. Oh, and there's like a news interview for this, and Jake Paul was being a total douchebag about this. Like, I hate him with a passion. I probably shouldn't say that.
So you don't like the guy?
Yeah.
So when I'm watching, because you didn't really say, you weren't very clear, man. I have not watched your video yet either, sir. But when I'm looking at your Twitter feed, I wasn't sure if you were saying he shouldn't lose subs. So he's just a dick.
Yeah, in general. Then like once the news team came to like interview him, he literally like was jumping on the news van, and the news team was asking him to get down, and he was like, "Why should I?" And he was just like a total douchebag. So then, like a little bit later, I'm gonna go into like more details to like the main part why everyone's mad at him. It's just
give us all of it right now, man. Take as much time as you want, dude. Take some deep breaths. You've got 5 minutes to give us this whole lowdown and your ideas on it. Nobody will interrupt you.
Okay, so then later after like the news interview, actually, I'm sure if you search up Jake Paul news interview, you could watch it. Would you be willing to do that, or would that take too long? Is it okay if we like go over 5 minutes? Or would you prefer to stay under 5 minutes?
I'm not too sure, but if you start talking about it, if Ogre wants to bring it up, then we'll start watching it and we'll stop.
Fair enough. So in the interview, literally the news interviewer guy, I don't really know the word right off my bat. The guy, he was asking Jake Paul, he was like, you're making this place a quote unquote living hell for your neighbors. What do you have to think about that? And he's like, well, the Jake Paulers are the strongest army out there. Just got to dab on the haters. And as I said, like the dabbing's this thing, I don't know if I did it correctly. It's that cringy dance move crap. You're never going to see me do that on the internet again. So this is a rare moment right here. So his like motto is dab on the haters. And all in all, he was just being a jerk. And the interviewer also said, he's like, well, something about it, like a circus. Yeah, the interview said like the neighborhood became like a circus. And Jake Paul's like, well, everyone likes the circus, so I don't see the problem. And as I said, he was just being like a complete total douchebag to the interviewer. I feel like I could go on for about 30 minutes about this. So the main thing that everyone's mad about with Jake Paul is he, accordingly to Alyssa Violet, he's assaulted her in the past, and there's evidence coming up that he actually did assault her. But then in this case, his assistant manager has apparently got abused by another YouTuber. But then it's turning out that the assistant manager had makeup on, and like there's so much evidence that's saying that she has makeup on because there's literally glitter where the bruise is. Then also at one point she went outside and I guess she didn't have the makeup on and she was like covering her neck. There's so much evidence at this point. Jake Paul's just an idiot.
So basically, you just don't like all the controversy and the spoiled bratness of him, basically, just to put it bluntly. His
parents raised him terribly. And like his mom in videos has even like said like she's disappointed with Jake. No, you should be disappointed with yourself for doing a crappy job raising him.
I suppose you could say that. I mean, sometimes parents do the best and sometimes some don't. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm sure you'll agree, we're all our own person, we're all our own people, and we decide on what we can get away with, we try and get away with as much as possible.
But
it's just unfortunate that Jake Paul... Go on.
Sorry. No, you can go.
All I was going to say, mate, was that it's just a shame that Jake Paul was quite young when he first started doing it. And the thing is, he's just gone off and he's shot up in stardom. And people that shoot up in stardom turn out to become dicks. I mean, not to use his name, but you look at somebody called Justin from Canada. I don't want to say his last name because it cringes me, but I'm sure you know who I mean by that when I say Justin from Canada. And you look at how he's produced and gone up. Yeah, he may be a good singer or whatever, but being a person, he doesn't look like a good person. Maybe he is now, I don't know. He's grown up a bit, possibly. But if you look in the past, definitely not. And that's where Jake Paul is at the minute, wouldn't you agree?
I completely agree. But like with Justin, from what I know of, he's calmed down a good bit. And for some reason, this is like kind of off topic, but he literally followed me on Twitter out of nowhere. I don't like his music or anything, but he like followed me. But then like I started listening to his music, JB. Justin Bieber.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
I'm sorry I had to mention it.
That's actually badass. That beats my James Woods, because that's Justin Bieber's got like 25 trillion followers.
I'm sorry, this like turned into like a bragging competition.
No, it's all good. Sometimes you gotta do that, right? I mean, you gotta do that.
Hey, we're all men. It's fine. That's what we do. We measure.
By the way, I don't appreciate.
I am neither followed by Justin Bieber nor by James Wood. Nobody likes me.
Oh.
Bull. Yeah, the Britisher follows 3 people, and he's got like 1,050 followers. Nobody likes it. But, oh no, I lost my train of thought. It must have been a lie.
But the thing is, with the parenting, I would say like it's not 100% her fault, but like over time, I'm starting to think his brother is just as bad, because like his brother is like covering up for Jake. Like I understand he's your little brother, but if you're gonna cover up for him, you have a good career so far, but you're gonna take your career down in the process. He's like sucking up a little bit. It's just like.
People must forgive me if I'm not contributing a lot to this conversation. I have just spent quite a bit of time climbing about the hallway with a cable in order to try and get a better connection so that I don't always sound like a Dalek. Because I'm beginning to suspect it's my Wi-Fi, which is causing trouble.
If you don't have a hard connection to your computer, because I do too, Brett. Whenever I mean, I had just a Wi-Fi to this, and anyway. Yeah, and I don't like to broadcast a lot of that stuff, especially with you British folks, like you and the Common Sense guy. I don't like to say much because I know how you British people are. If there's a problem, you don't want anybody broadcasting it. So yeah, we've known there's been some glitches with the Brit for the last hour or so, but we've been muddling through.
I think I have a little bit of a theory right here.
It's not like mine, Brit, with our first big freaking. I don't even want to talk about how many people were watching. There's like there is a big cathedral, half full, watching us, and on my birthday, and it goes down. Yes, say what you want, Locke. I'm still just
okay
over that.
I'm gonna pull a little bit of an Alex Jones theory, but the first time the Brit left early when I was here. But then the second time, he has terrible connection.
No,
so
he didn't leave early. I'm just
clue.
The Britisher never comes on the weekend. He does the week that was. Now I'm going to get it from every angle, Brett. I feel bad. Okay.
Actually, the ogre has already been chastised for that. Yes.
And I shamed him into showing up, man, because I know he's busy. I thought maybe he needed a break, but no,
he was very, very keen that I be on yesterday. And the thing is that Saturday and Sunday with me, I am chock-a-block with trying to create a YouTube clip that I put up every weekend called The Week That Was. And the amount of work it is unreal. So therefore, yes, because I'm trying to meet a deadline of getting it out for the weekend, it is one of those things where taking an hour out of that is quite painful. So
well, and Brett, I love you, man.
I did get back to it.
I did that honestly. The whole thing yesterday was not because we needed you. I'm fully aware that if I want to do a random stream, which are always random on the weekends, on Saturday or Sunday, it's going to be. I thought that you would break would be, but no, you're kind of like you and I are a lot alike. As much as we both probably hate to admit it, once I get focused on something, it's probably better that I don't get off of it. And some people need a break, but I've learned my lesson. I'm not going to pull the Britisher any more weekends.
I'm alike again.
Well, for one thing, I don't want to miss the week that was. This week was, was brilliant. It was effing brilliant. You're getting very good at what you do. Very good.
Since I've plugged in this cable, everyone is suddenly looking a lot sharper.
By any chance, is that HDMI lead?
Sorry?
By any chance, is that HDMI lead?
Or does it look like a big phone jack?
No, it's an Ethernet thing, I think.
Yeah,
Ethernet, big phone jack. Yeah, HDMI would be a little crisper, but you don't need much more than that. And so, look, I don't know, man, Locke, if it don't bother you, I kind of wanted to talk about a couple things. It is Monday, about the week that was, Brett. And Locke, I'm just going to say, like I always say, this doesn't mean you got to go at all. But we really appreciate your time. We could beat you up and talk to you and focus on exactly what you do for another hour, or we could have you back on and like you're always welcome to. If you ever feel like coming on the stream during church, just let me know, man. I'll shoot you a link. And I don't do that for only about 4 or 5 people. You're one of them. And you're welcome to come on, shoot your ideas in, because we need a diversity of ideas. I'm very selfish in my reasoning for that. And how much more diverse can you get than kind of a stocky Southern boy with a rebel flag on his hat? I mean, you don't get that. That's about as good as it gets. That's as diverse as it gets. But we will move on probably from just directly focusing on you, Locke. I sure appreciate it. I got to tell you, your learning curve is a vertical line. You really went a long way. And something told me, I don't always follow intuition. I don't even believe in intuition. But something said yesterday, man, I better get this person, because I was looking for a live stream that you did and I didn't find any. It's like, I better get this person on now when it's a laid back BS session. And man, I'll tell you what, how about it, Common Sense guy? Did he pass the bar or what?
I think he does, yeah. As I said, he's definitely got a lot better. He's come out of his shell. I'm glad that he's talking about his ideas and what he wants to be talking about. And I'm happy that he's comfortable talking to us for a start. But I'm sure that Locke can explain everything himself if he wants to.
Can I actually ask, because obviously I've missed quite a lot of this conversation because I've been dangling cables over lampshades and whatever. How long, for how long have you actually been making these prankster clips?
I want to say 2 years. As far as my YouTube goes back, it's 2 years. But I think it's actually been going on 3 to 4 years. But I actually didn't post those on YouTube.
Okay, but
so then after a while,
how do you feel I mean, you know, being somebody, and the ogre will know exactly what I'm talking about, and Common Sense Guy also has his own channel. So in that regard, I think every YouTuber kind of knows what I mean with this question. How do you now feel about your early material?
It's cringy. Okay, so when people check out my channel, I usually say don't check out my older content. I think I said that to Ogre in like DMs at one point. Do you remember that? Because I gotta admit, my older content's cringy, and I'm willing to bet my current content's still a little bit cringy, but it's still improving. So I'm just a kid.
I think we all feel that way though, Brett, don't we?
Well, you see, as I say, the reason I thought that is because Ogre mentioned that term, you know, the learning curve. And YouTube is an unbelievable learning curve. You know, you kind of get into it, and the first thing that happens is you're baffled by all the technology. And once you've kind of got your head around that, you then sort of make your first tentative steps into it. And you sort of think, oh, well, okay, this will be okay. But then once you're sort of 3 or 4 months down the line, you already look back on your previous stuff and go, oh my God, did I really do that? And at times, you don't even get better. Sometimes you get worse. And then you correct yourself later because you realize that you actually took a wrong turn.
That's why...
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you keep going.
No, so in that regard, I know exactly what the ogre means with learning curve and on YouTube. And that's why I was just interested to know for how long have you been doing it? And it's kind of quite expected that you sort of say that when you now look at your early stuff, you kind of cringe inwardly, because I think we all do exactly the same thing. And I think even the most successful YouTubers, even the PewDiePies out there, if they ever see something that they've done 2 years ago, they'll more than likely cringe inwardly.
You know, PewDiePie at one point, he was like doing Minecraft. If you like, okay, so with like YouTube, there's a feature where you can see like the oldest videos. Check out PewDiePie stuff. It's cringy too.
Well, no,
with all respect, all of his stuff is cringy to me. But I mean, I look at.
Well, in fact, for one, he's not even British. I mentioned
who you work with, dude. Me and the Brisher both looked at him. I'm not going to be a cuck. I'm just going to tell you the truth. Joey Salads, he's a big famous guy. I would like to have him on and interview him, but his content, I don't know. I watched it. It's just not up my street. It doesn't mean I don't like the guy or whatever. I think he's nothing like that. But it's just the way it is. Not everything's going to appeal to everybody.
I understand his content can be pretty controversial for like a lot of times. He's been into a good bit of drama.
And I would say this. I doubt very highly if you'd watch a lot of the British stuff, and maybe I'm wrong, Britt. This is a terrible plug for my co-host, but you might watch some of his stuff and be like, wow, this guy is just very reserved and whatnot. Maybe you wouldn't like it. When I watch Joey, I mean, it's just not it's not my cup of tea. I'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to put the guy down. He's great. He does good at what he does. It's just not my cup of tea. Yeah. Some people drive Fords. Some people drive, you know, Chevys. That's it.
And honestly, there's a lot of people who follow him on Twitter just for his political beliefs. Like, as I said with the drama thing, he used to be in a lot of drama, but he's changed a lot since then. But a lot of people follow him on Twitter because he has a good political mindset. I will give him that. Sometimes I'm not 100% like enjoying his pranks, but there's also a good bit of videos I enjoy. But his political beliefs are on point, in my opinion.
Well, you must be alt-right. You're talking about political leanings. Oh, go ahead, Brett, before I ruin it.
Could you see yourself going a similar way, basically building a channel like him, Joey Salads?
No. The thing is, with Joey Salads,
what way would you differentiate yourself from Joey Salads?
His content is creative, but it can be kind of dry because it doesn't have enough humor in it, in my opinion. And if for some odd reason, someone like if Joey Salads is watching this, or someone who likes Joey Salads I love his content, but it can be a little bit dry at sometimes.
So you think it kind of lacks the punchline?
Yeah, to be brutally honest.
Yeah.
Man, I'm going to send you something that the Britisher wrote, and myself and the Day is Dead we performed in. It was the Britisher's little take on fake news. I really want to send that to you. And I asked that you watch it because I kind of want to see if that kind of humor is up your alley. And I honestly think that you'll see what we did together. The Britisher wrote all of it, and what we performed. It was just, it's Anyway, I still laugh over it. But like I said, people go different directions. And for me, all right, the height of comedy, the apex, the nadir of comedy is satire. Simple as that. Good satire. Really good.
That's why I'm like, I can sneak in some edgy jokes on my YouTube, but I'm less edgy on YouTube. But like on my social media, I'm a little bit more edgy. I'm like, I make Hitler jokes and stuff, but it's all good fun.
I gave you that pause too when I said
never
is.
come to
I
Scotland.
gave you that pause. I thought you'd say satire.
Never go to Scotland.
Tell him why, Britisher.
Count Dankula.
Yeah,
he
you get
just said
arrested.
he makes Hitler jokes. Yes, never go to Scotland.
Can he wear that hat in Scotland, mate? Could I wear this?
Well,
Could I
that's a good question. Yes, that's a good question. Whether he would be permitted to walk down, Buchanan Street in Glasgow with that hat on, I'm not sure.
I doubt it. They won't even let you wear a T-shirt to say that you're not English. So I doubt they'll let him wear the Southern flag.
Hang on. It's illegal to wear a shirt in Glasgow. A Glaswegian can't put on a shirt that says "I am not English."
Well, it wasn't that. It was a shop that was selling T-shirts that basically it had the first letters were sort of in big capitals, and then only if you looked at it closely did you actually see the rest of the wording that said "anyone but England." And it was during the Football World Cup. And England were playing, and Scotland hadn't qualified for the tournament. So a T-shirt printing company had put in their window some T-shirts with "anyone but England" on, which was kind of expressing the national Scottish hope that basically any team win the World Cup but England, because they would never hear the end of it if the English were to become world champions.
Yeah, because for you and them, and I say you and them because you're one nation, but it's kind of like the North and the South, isn't it? A little bit. It's like you're the same and you're one, but there is that old rivalry.
There's an old rivalry. But the thing is, so basically it's a perfectly acceptable joke. I find it funny, and I'm English, but the police turned up and told them that they had to take the T-shirts out of the window. And when they asked why, they were told, well, it could be seen as offensive. And
here we go.
This is the nation of John Cleese and co.
Yeah.
And they're basically telling people to take a joke T-shirt out of the window. And we have both seen Count Dankula get into trouble for making a Nazi joke online. So given that they are so hyper, and it's just got worse today in England and Wales. They've just announced that it's going to get worse. I'm not sure whether in Scotland you could walk down the street with a Confederate battle flag on your hat.
Don't worry, I just ripped the hat off.
Well, no, as I say, we don't have any problem with it. That's just
joking.
But I think that if you were physically there, you may be stopped. Not because anyone is offended, but because the police would stop you because they would be talking about hypothetical offense. Someone could be offended.
Britisher, this just came to mind. I'm going to screen share this. This is kind of breaking news, Brett. I'm not even kidding. I'm looking at the week that was. Look at this, man. And look, I've just had this up. I've been queuing it up. I've been trying to not hear the audio, but see from your text that you have, where I want to stop it and kind of get you going on the week that was. So let me show you something here real quick. This is no joke either, man. You talk about crazy. Look at this, Brett. Right here is you see this. This is you. This is the week that was, 20th of August, 2017. And what do we see here is the #1 recommendation. What do you see right there, Brett? Do you see that? That is the top. I'm not even joking. I'm looking. You see, I'm the second. Our stream we're doing right now is the second. I have not.
Yes, but if you look at the contributor, it was Sargon of Akkad. So it appears that the recommendation is a Sargon video.
I don't care. They have they have Hitler, and yes, I've seen that too. I'm just trying to show you, man. To me, that is unreal.
Well, actually, I told Sargon. Now he already knew about it. He said thank you to me for letting him know, but he already knew about it. That I told you that I like to watch YouTube on Amazon Prime. That basically, like sitting on the settee and just basically watching YouTube on Amazon Prime. So I've got it on the television. And when I tried to watch one of his more recent videos, it basically told me that it couldn't show me that. I would have to enter a password or something.
Well, because you're not old enough?
So it basically, if you would be watching it in kind of an unrestricted platform, it simply wouldn't allow you to watch that particular video. And you just sort of thought, well, hang on a moment. This has never happened to me on YouTube, but then when I'm watching on YouTube, I'm always signed in. So like that, it must be something like an age restriction. And you just sort of think, why would anyone on Earth ever put an age restriction on anything Sargon says?
Sargon's ever done. Well, he uses some cuss words. I would be honest, though, if I was raising a child that was old enough to get...
It's the first time it's ever occurred that something like that has happened.
YouTube literally age restricted some of my own stuff. It's ridiculous.
So and that's what I was going to ask. I was going to go to you, Locke. I mean, what's offensive to you? We're not being careful here because we can't say this, but can I ask you a question? Is the word cocksucker offensive to you? Motherfucker, son of a... I mean, do these cuss words really like hurt you in any way?
No, I don't really care.
No. And as we're not going to continue to just be gratuitous about our use of them, I don't get that we would... So, boom, back to Sargon, Brett.
So yes, he already knew about it. He already knew about it, but I didn't know that. So I basically told him, and he said, "No, thanks, but I already know about it." So clearly, yes, they seem to be age restricting stuff, which doesn't really seem. I mean, Sargon talks about
your kids are age restricted. Do you know if yours are?
I have no idea. I've not bothered to check, and I've not really had the time. I only saw that yesterday. That was after
I'll tell you, dude, all I got to do is sign out and try to watch one of your videos.
Yeah.
Being signed out.
I mean, as I say, it was only one that seemed not to work for Sargon. So most of them appear still to be, not age restricted. So even if one checks one of mine, that's not to say that there won't perhaps be one or two others that might be age restricted. But given that we basically talk about the news, philosophical stuff, you just sort of think, how possibly could something like that be age restricted? And it just seems to be the way things are going, that one really is tightening the screws wherever one can. But the news of the day over here really is, and I mean, Common Sense Guy might also have been spitting at the television or the radio earlier today. I don't know if he caught on to this. That we had the head of the prosecution service come out today and state that they will be going after hate crimes.
Yeah, the misogynistic hate crimes.
That basically this is stuff online that they will be going specifically for. And they have basically said that, what is it, from the year 2015 to 16, that calendar year, they successfully prosecuted 15,000 hate crimes in Britain. Not in Britain, in England and Wales. So that if you take out holidays and weekends and whatever, that's really, that's 50 a day, And now they want to go further and they want to prioritize online hate crime, as they call it.
Yes, against women disabled.
I mean, for the first time, the paper has also mentioned the word bisexual, apparently. That was also pointed out by the BBC.
Yes.
So they really, really want to clamp down, and they use the word clamp down. They want to clamp down hard on what they term online abuse and hate crime.
Yeah,
so
on the radio, not to cut you off, on the radio, their actual language was, we want to curb misogynistic hate crimes. That's what they said on the actual radio.
Jeez.
Oh, I
we
mean,
got to protect Locke over here. We can't have him, you know. No, we got to protect these.
What is happening to Count Dankula may, if you're in Britain, anywhere else in Britain, may soon be coming to a place near you.
Yeah,
it's quite astonishing. I mean,
Tennessee.
I was really taken aback because, I mean, we know that Theresa May has been, you know, pushing this hard in her manifesto. We thought the manifesto was dead, but then in the Queen's speech, she kind of revived it, at least this part of it. And now we're kind of seeing this come to fruition, that basically you put some kind of person who basically should qualify as a lollipop lady, really, in charge of a country. And this is the kind of stuff she's going to do. I mean, they're throwing acid into the faces of people in London. And we know that that has been going off the scale down there. But what we are getting is a clampdown on supposed hate crime online for bad things people are saying. So, I'm coming back to what what I told you yesterday, Ogre. You know, the Americans will really have to hold fast. You guys have to stand strong with
it's not happening,
freedom of
mate.
speech.
If
you don't, this is what is going to happen.
No, look, I'm terrified at this point. I really am. I'm not even going to kid you. I had a sinus headache yesterday. So when that happens for me, sometimes all I can do is lay in bed, but usually don't fall asleep because, man, I mean, I got sometimes I get migraines. It's not altogether a bad thing. I mean, I'm not going to tell you that, you know, the kind of sheets of steel slicing through your brain kind of pain is a good thing, but it gives you time to think because you want to not think about that. Freedom of speech is under such an attack, man. There's going to be a time very soon where we're not only going to not hold fast, mate. We may hear in this place of modern revolution, short of, you know, Russia's been more, but this revolution we did that was for freedom, that really was, oh man. No, I don't really think it's going to go downhill. I believe that before Locke is my age, he won't be able to just say what he wants. Maybe he won't even be able to wear that hat. It could be from, I don't think it'll be from shaming either. I think it'll be from written law. And as soon as they take that right too, look, I'll go on and on right now, man. I was just about ready to go off on a nut as if you boys weren't here. Like I was recording a video, which I never do anymore, and I probably should. Britisher, by the way, I started writing a script today. And the reason why is because not just for respect for you. That's a big part of it. But respect for vernaculus. And, I mean, I follow people, man. And I do have a certain respect for the time it takes to condense your ideas, read them, write them, read them, rewrite them, revise them, rewrite them again, get a polished product out there, and then deliver them. There's something to be said for that. And in the end, no matter how one might think one does extemporaneously and how great, you know, one might think that they are, you know, there's something to be said for that. Oh, wow, that was off on a tangent. It's just, this is tough for me. Freedom of speech is gone. I hope no one would ever. I have paid the price. The last paper I sent you today, Britt, was me paying the price in an English class. That's a real paper I sent you. You'll see the just references in there and everything. But that was me paying the price and giving up. I could have quit that class. I could have bowed out when I seen what I was up against. But I went up against it anyway, and that was an instance where I lost. I don't think what is right and what should be always wins. And yeah, I could be being egocentric right now and saying I was the one that was freaking right in that situation, because I was. I'm not because I think it. I took my papers and my work down to the English department in the basement, and they said I was right. But they also said that they could not persuade the professor in any way, and that I must kiss her ass if I want. And you know what? I'm just not into kissing ass, and I don't think anybody else should be. If Locke wants to wear a hat, wear the hat. If Britisher wants to tell me that all the time, and I know all your jokes aside, Britisher, you do have a certain feeling, because we just talked about the old grudge between Scotland and England. Well, there's an old grudge here too. I don't think it goes so far from the American side, maybe because it's me. Anyway, look, I gotta shut up now. This whole idea of suppressing freedom of speech, folks. And Locke, listen, when we wrap up today, what I did is this is called blowing your wad. And that's why I really need to shut up. Because at the end of the day, you be ready too, boy. Because we all have our little last minute say. And we want you and anyone else that's here on the panel for our last minute say to be able to have their say and then some. And to be able to say whatever they want. I don't care what it is. Kike, spick, whop, nigger, fuck you. Hitler didn't do enough. I don't even really care what it is. Joking or otherwise. Because in the end, if you want to suppress a form of speech, it's because you're afraid of it.
Also, can I say every time the Brit says BBC, my mind goes somewhere else.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
You filthy, dirty little boy. Stop that. No, I know what you mean, too. It's like BBC. Every time I see it, it's like, oh, my goodness. There's another acronym that means something different.
To be fair, from somebody who's from England, I always generally think of that. Not because I want anything like that, but because I think they are acting like that.
I, of course, am far too innocent and naive to have any idea what anybody is talking about.
Yeah.
You figured it would be the kid too innocent and naive to, but
not nowadays.
What are you talking about?
Not nowadays.
You filthy bastard. And remember, there's something like child pornography laws, man. You can't be talking no shit like that. The illusion. People, be on 4chan next week. What do you call that? The Encyclopedia Dramatica.
Yeah, there'll be articles written about how Ogre corrupted this poor innocent boy on his live stream.
No, it's the school who corrupted it.
Yeah, their internet security wasn't strong enough, and I found it while I was at school.
All right, boys, dead air. I just went on like a 15-minute rant, it felt like. When I finally stopped, it was like, man, you talked so long.
I'm still looking for cables because I'll need to find. I'm actually on Amazon as we speak, looking for a longer cable because I literally have a cable running across my lap at the moment that goes out into the hallway, through a kind of banister, and then through midair across a lampshade, a ceiling lampshade, and then down. Man,
you're going to choke your dear old mother to death or trip her up at night. Don't leave that cable all through the house, mate. I
have no idea of what you speak. Anyway.
Get that thing routed by a professional and don't just leave cord all through your home.
But no, I'll be able to basically take it back in once I'm finished, because like
I gotta say this,
I will not kill myself whilst going down the stairs. Falling over the cable
online. I don't know a crap load. It's not like an auditorium, like but I know a few people, and I do now. I talked to a few people, but Britisher, you invest more in your project, and others that I know about, I can't even speak of. You invest more time and energy and money into your project than anybody else I know, man. It shows too. You're coming up.
Mind you, I still think I'm dwarfed by poisoning the well in that regard.
Well, it's because you've got this oral retentive sophane that is so freaking insanely. Did you see the rat video? And it ended up being Fat Pat that actually had to get the shovel and get the rat out. I know you don't like this analogy, but you are the sophane to my Fat Pat, Brett. And I hate to say it because let's face it, sophane is the prettier and the funnier and all that, whatnot.
Are you familiar with poisoning?
But I'm the one that would shovel the rat up. What? Familiar with what?
I was just asking Locke, but he's just stood up, so I don't think he can hear us.
Oh, he's got headphones on.
But I was just wondering whether he had been here forever, well or not, because obviously with him looking for inspiration in people, I think poisoning the well might be a good place to start.
Yeah, I don't know if he follows him or not. When he comes back, we definitely have to ask. That's true too. Those boys they're still millennials. I'm not sure if Locke is a millennial? I don't know where that stops, where it ends.
Yes, I think he may actually be Generation Z, might he not?
Z, yeah.
Just about, yeah.
Yes, I mean, just in order to pronounce it correctly, you know, the letter being Z.
Exactly.
Hey, did you have a nice dump there? Did you have a nice dump there, Locke?
No, I got some water and put my hat back.
Oh, well, whatever it was that you were doing. I just, we were wondering, what generation are you? Are you still considered a millennial?
I hope not.
No, that's cool. What is it? What is it?
I have no clue. I'm clueless.
I think you might be Generation Z, but I'm not sure because I think that is the name they have found for the next generation after the millennials.
I'll look into it. I was born in 2002, if that helps. So
2002.
So anyway, we just wanted to ask you, just when you got up and left, are you familiar with Poisoning the Well?
no, I have no clue.
They are YouTubers. We'll definitely have to let you have some links to some of the stuff they've made. Because obviously if you go on their channel, you know, there are quite a lot of sort of just streaming videos and stuff like that. But they have made some material that is truly outstanding. These are two guys who are not in the film industry or anything like that, but they've truly gone the extra mile to make their material. And I mean, they themselves make jokes about everything being completely overproduced, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, it came up because the ogre sort of said, you know, I invest a lot into the stuff I make. And I sort of said, well, not compared to Poisoning the Well.
Well, I'll tell you what, their rap battle, the Armored Skeptic versus Logic battle. I'm gonna send you that right now. Can you see the side chat? In fact, I think you've already sent stuff. Yeah, I see you there, Prankster Lock. Sorry,
it's fine.
Try to keep it down. Yeah, there's something else, dude. Oh, y'all carry on. I can't walk and chew bubblegum, Britt. So
as long as you're not calling me cracker, it's fine. So
cracker. Well, you're a cracker.
You can call me that. I don't care.
Cool. You are a cracker. You're like a Southern boy. That makes you cracker. You're white and you're Southern. I mean, let's face it. Just like people talk about, oh, they're spics or oh, I mean, I ain't getting into that, man. But oh, they're whatever. They're whops or.
I always love it how the ogre basically starts off on a sentence, and then when he's 3/4 of the way down, he says, "Oh, I'm not getting into that."
Well, it's hard for me, Britt, because I was going to say, the N word. Because it's like everybody, there was a time when people in fact, look at the black people. What they do now is like, what up, and what up, man, and what up, dude, man, and then they make cool music that says my nigga, and it's like we can't now, you can't say it, and we're gonna tear down statues and stuff. They tore down. You know what pisses me off? They tore down Lenin. They tore Lenin down, man, in Seattle. Screw that. They used to paint his hand red, his left hand. They painted it red, Brett.
Hang on,
and now they took it down. No, don't take down the statues.
I've heard talk that they wanted to tear it down. Sorry, I'm losing the ability to speak here. I heard that they wanted to tear it down, but I've not heard that they've actually done it.
I think it's gone, man. And to my understanding, it was gone this morning. I know the eclipse is so important. That's why I'm with. I don't know about you, Brett.
They moved it in the 5 minutes of dark that they had available.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it was dark up there too. But it's like Lionel said, man. If you're not paying attention to stuff, the thing they pulled down with the yellow strap, Bersher, that was the Southern soldier. That was the Confederate soldier. And he was there, and if you looked at the inscription, he was listening to the spirit of reconciliation, telling him to lay his rifle down. British, you can't make this up.
I believe that one was the one in Atlanta, wasn't it?
Yes, and they tore it down.
No, they didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry, they tried, because I think I got that from your channel. So
yeah, the one that they tore down, that was a Confederate soldier in Durham, North Carolina. That was the one they were jumping around on, like, as though it was the statue of Saddam Hussein.
On him, man.
But the one that they tried to, the one with the spirit of reconciliation, that one was in Atlanta. So that was actually in Poisoning the Well town. And yes, that one was just absolutely bizarre because it just sort of showed how completely uninformed the people were who were doing it. Because all they saw was a Confederate soldier, and therefore they just decided this had to go. even though it actually was a peace monument.
Well, I'll tell you what, it won't be long. We see what happened in Chicago with the great emancipators, what they call him. But the joke was, you know, it was a big meme, and Trump was so stupid because he said, what's next? George Washington and Thomas Jefferson? Yes, they're next. And then somebody said, well, what about, and now it's a big meme, and oh no, it'll never happen. Well, what about Martin Luther King because he was anti-abortion? Mark my words. They need Uncle Toms. They need them all. It's not about racism. It's about
history.
Because look, any of these commies, Locke, I don't know if you realize it with all this Antifa and they like transgender stuff. They can't like transgendered. They say they're communistic. Britisher, in 1942, in Russia, what happened to you if you were homosexual and they caught you?
You would more than likely go to the Gulag.
You go to Siberia, Gulag, yes. You go to Siberia. They would send you to the most god-awful frozen wasteland, and you would slowly starve to death.
Well, actually, you could actually survive in a Gulag for years and years. So you wouldn't just starve to death. They would make sure that your life was long and miserable.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Wow, that's a lot of dead air.
Yeah, well, I don't want to keep taking it dark.
I think we were all mentally in the Gulag there for a moment.
We were. I'd like to touch on a bit of what Ogre's trying to allude to. It just seems to me that where people are fighting this freedom of speech, they don't even realize that they're actually fighting against their own freedom to do what they're doing. Like, they think they're fighting all this Nazism and they're trying to fight oppression and using all the buzzwords they can. And they don't realize that they're actually fighting against the one thing that is letting them go against the government and actually doing what they're doing. And as Ogre was trying to allude to as well, they're literally trying to take away the whole of the history to say nobody's fought for this before, nobody's done this before. They're trying to rewrite history so that they can say that they're the ones that have done it. I'm sure of that as well, that they're trying to be the ones that are the great freedom fighters of the new millennia. Everything before this millennia was horrid and horrible. We were the ones who liberated everything, and I just find that
I think very much
funny.
that you're right there. That they believe that entire world history was just misery until they came along.
Spot on.
The thing that makes me like upset the most with, like, you mentioned like black people only can say the N-word, but I've one time said nigga before, like in my Snapchats as like a joke, and there's white YouTubers that can get away with it all the time, but then if different white YouTubers say it, they can't get away with it, and like black people get mad because we're white. But if you ask me, that's a hypocritical excuse for only them being able to say that. And I ask, why can only black people say that? They say because they were slaves, but the word slaves came from the word Slav, and white people used to be slaves as well.
Slavs.
So it's just a hypocritical excuse.
Well,
would you say that is? Would you say that is reverse racism, Locke? Would you say
you're not half
as
dumb as you look either, kid? That was very brilliant what you just said.
Yeah.
Do I sound like an idiot or?
No,
I just said
very
that was
intelligent.
never mind. Explain my backhanded comment. Somebody, you're not half as dumb as you look. That was a very, very astute comment you just made. I mean, slave comes from Slav, the Caucasus Mountains. They were the first slaves that we really cared about a lot. I shouldn't say that either, Britt, right? Because I mean, slaves go back. Always had slaves. Wasn't it you, Britisher, that said? Who was I listening to just recently? So slavery, it's a step. It's not a great step, but it used to slaughter everybody. Wasn't that you that said that?
Sargon just recently put out a video in which he precisely said that. He said that these are evolutionary steps in the development of man's history. That basically slavery once was a step forward, because prior to enslaving the people you had conquered, what you simply did is you slaughtered them all. So as such, of course, slavery still is cruel, but it is still better than butchering everybody.
Wouldn't it be like best of just no one?
And we'll be Sargon, we'll be looking for our 15 quid each, because we did remember that and we just mentioned it on stream. I just want to make that known. Thank you very much, sir, and we continue to do business as far as I know. Ha 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 ha. Oh, sorry, Locke. I have my way of checking our Sargon. We got some people that we work with, and I've got this contract I've got to constantly refer to. And then the Britishers got to find clever ways to work in that we, Sargon's cool and whatnot. No, I did think that was you, though, Britt. But it was him when you jarred my memory.
Yes.
Those are my two favorite news shows, man. The Week That Was and This Week in Stupid. Those are the ones I go to.
He beat
man.
me to it again, the bastard, didn't he?
Pardon me, sir?
He beat me to it again, the bastard.
Yeah,
I told him that. I sort of said, you've beaten me to it again, because yes, he always manages to come out first with This Week in Stupid before I come out with The Week That Was.
Well, he don't probably put as much effort into it as
he draws out his 700,000 subscribers, a great many of which are my, it's basically a great proportion of which are sort of my subscribers. So basically, they all go and watch him. So after they've seen him, well, they're really done for the weekend. I need to get faster. I need to get quicker on the draw.
Put it out first.
Sargon.
You're probably not wrong there, Brett. I won't. Usually the things you say like this to me in public and private, I disagree. You know that, but no, in this case, I don't disagree with you. You should try to get it out on Sunday morning, man, like Saturday night late. And you're probably right. There'd be like you'd at least get another 800 to 1,000, mate. They would have not seen
It's difficult to get it out fast because one of the things is you have.
Well, Sargon's going down. He's got his camera up now. Look, let me not go. I got to look. Oh man, don't make me get out the dang on contract. But he is now. You can see that his Week That in Stupid is getting more and more like a stream of consciousness, or I would say the thinkery in Britisher. You can say it in public if you want to or not. But we both know what's easier, what we're doing now, or sitting down and getting the clips together.
Both of them represent a different challenge. One of them basically means, yes, you have to sit down and you have to write everything, and then you have to edit everything. So I think that's what you're alluding to. That takes much more time. But at the same time, it takes a much higher degree of skill to be able to talk to camera uninterrupted. And of course, that is what Sargon now can pull off, and which I know I would stand no chance.
I don't agree with you, Brett. Only if the only way I agree with you is if you mean that Sargon has every word he's going to say written. If you mean it's easier to do what we're doing now in a stream of consciousness, have your bullet points, you're doing it. What's really considered an extemporaneous speech. Yes. Bullet points with your own self. That's much easier than, and now if you took that and juxtaposed it to someone that has a script, a 28-minute long script, mind you, you're going to make mistakes. Because you're reading the words.
Well, yes, but you forget that, of course, Sargon, always copying me, of course, also did a 28-minute long video. So, of course, there were some cuts.
I know the bloody bastard's been riding your coattails.
That was 28 minutes of extemporaneous speaking. So, in that regard, I can see a degree of skill in what he delivers there, which I would never be able to match at the moment.
Wow, let's not even talk about that. You're getting better at it, but I highly doubt that, Brett. I just don't think you've exercised that muscle as of yet. But if you just turned on your camera and did it extemporaneous with bullet points, I don't know, man. And look, all jokes aside, there is no competition, but I would put myself up against anybody. And I'm sure you'd do fine, man. Your end points, I know I've got to end now tonight too. Are we going to do it on your channel Friday or what?
We may actually be sooner on my channel.
A Wednesday? That'd be great.
It looks as if it will be Wednesday. Yes.
Oh man, that'd be great.
Specifically because I've also apparently been able to solve my technical problems by plugging in this cable.
Yes.
Which I was very keen to be able to do while I was on air, because then I knew that it actually worked and I wasn't suddenly turning into a robot again.
Well, I honestly think the best thing for both of us right now would be to have church on Monday on my channel. This is always our slow day, mate. Always our slow day. So what does it make a difference to us if we get 14 viewers right now, or some Mondays we'll get 30 viewers? That's the max, though. And so what does it matter if we get, so we're 15, or if we're on your channel, there's like freaking 150 people there, 50 people waiting for you to push the go button. I mean, what's,
but then
come
it
on.
collapsed, if you remember. And that I insist to this day, I didn't press a button. It just, at some point, it just went.
Oh, no. I mean, there was 50 people waiting there for you to press the go button. No, I know you didn't press the button to go. I think you got skipped off from your crappy connection that you just worked out. No, I'm just saying, while we were there, we were talking. Remember, man? I mean, there were like 40 people, 50 people waiting for us. You, myself, and the common sense guy. I almost said the conscious sense guy. I almost got it, but I'm getting it, common sense guy. I'm getting it. I'm not really.
Common carical. That's his name.
The common carical.
It might as well be. It might as well be.
Have I actually said that? The common carical? I probably have not even known it.
The conscious sense guy. Common. The conscious sense guy.
I know I said that one, the conscious sense guy. I know I said that. Okay, anyway. So, bam, I'm stoked. I'm going to try to relax, and I'm going to hope my daggone connection don't get squonky. But that's what I think we should do, man. Like Mondays here, because it doesn't matter. And even on Wednesdays and Fridays, it don't matter. Because even if we get up to like our max is 40 is our max. Doesn't happen very often. I mean, we'll get much more exposure.
Well, I think we might get a few people because I seem to have found a guest about whom I'm quite happy to talk to you about once we're off air.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't want to give anything else other than that. So there'll be some kind of guest Wednesday. Is that when it's going to be?
Yes.
Regular time, 3 o'clock, 8 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time?
Yes.
Okay, that'd be great. So it's noon. So there's a mystery guest for those listening that would be
mystery
noon.
Guest. Yes.
On the left coast, as we call it, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time and 8 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. Man, that'd be great, bro. That's what I'm talking about, man. I'm saying, look, let's go to. We'll do all this other stuff off air. We'll gloat after, because we're both guilty a little bit of like gloating beforehand, and you never know what can happen. So you might as well just.
There is always that. Yes, I think we've learned the hard way that one can think there's a guest coming and then it doesn't happen.
Well, it ain't so much that. I mean, Dick, that was the least. But yes, that's happened to us too. But you could also be internet connection. Who knows, man? Who knows?
Yes, we definitely got the connection gremlins last time round, didn't we? It happened 3 times, really. First, we were completely disconnected at one point and needed to restart. Then my co-host disappeared. And then
on my birthday,
in midstream, I then suddenly started sounding like a robot because my connection suddenly got wonky. And even when I thought it was back to normal again, on listening to it again, I realized that I was far from normal.
Are you cursed?
Yes, it really was. I must have, in a previous life, I must have unearthed some Egyptian mummy or something.
No, it's more or less just. I'm telling you, you'll see it if you ever do something like a live stream, get some of your bros together and do something on your channel. It's just the first show glitches, man. It happened to me. It seems like every time you're doing something the first time, you're already wanting to be. If you're like someone like yourself or the British or myself or a common sense guy, where you want it to be good. You can't pre-plan what's going to happen when people get together and hang out. But you can kind of have a guideline for it and want it to be interesting to other people while you do it. Shit, man. Every time it's like best laid plans of mice and men.
I would like to say that. Go on.
No. I'm good.
No, go on. You haven't said much.
RPR had like a question in the chat. Something like, let me just read it word for word. He said, ask Ogre for a spanner. I'm assuming you know what that means.
Oh yeah, no, I got it. I guess you don't have a wrench in the
Do you have to allocate those wrenches every time?
I give them out freely on my channel, but you shouldn't. We got enough right now on your channel, Brett.
No, but what I was saying, do you have to reallocate them every time, or does it remember that you've done it?
Yep. You can go into your video manager, and there's a spot where you can take people off even though they're not on air. I'll go through. I'll find that and show you where that is, Bersher. So you can add people there too. It has lists of your subscribers, and you can add people to that. So just say, for example, Sofane has been, and he's one of your subscribers. So you want to add them, whether or not they've been in your live stream, just in case they're there. They'll say they have a spanner. You can do that, or you can have somebody that has been there, and it's like, oh well, they're either not showing up or heaven forbid they're a jerk, and you can just like boot them out there too.
Okay, well, one learns something every day.
Did nobody, so Britisher, did you get the opportunity to do the lock? Did anybody other than me and Mad Woman Muses, check out her channel, Mad Woman Muses, and it's rocks, did get the opportunity to fill out a survey for YouTube today?
No.
Nobody?
No, not happened on this side. No.
And if y'all do, man, I hope you fill it out like I did. It took me about 30 minutes to do it proper.
It's randomly selected. I did like one a while back.
Really? And it was the whole, like, do you think you can make money? Do you feel like this is a good environment for all ideas? All those, like, I mean, half hours worth of questions and answers.
It's ridiculous.
Okay. I didn't know
I had to make a copyright strike today to try and get that. I had to write that out today.
That's fun.
Yeah, that's fun.
You got a copyright strike today, did you?
I did indeed, yes. From one of my videos, which is 10 things not to say to a person who's voted Remain. Because I used 1 minute 31 seconds of the people talking, and because of the music in the background of them talking, I got a copyright strike on it. Literally for that reason, the music in the background wasn't even them talking; it was the music in the background.
Fantastical. It just shows how sort of sophisticated those algorithms are, aren't they? That they can kind of literally just filter through the entire video. Given how many millions of hours every day must be uploaded, that is quite it's quite frightening almost that they can actually do that.
It is. It really, really is.
But yes, how on earth you ought to be able to show these people talking without the music in the background is kind of beyond me.
Yeah, that was literally my point as I writ to them. Was saying that.
Well, how can they play it?
Because they have the copyright for it, obviously.
Yeah, so whatever the channel is must have actually paid for the copyright just to have that running in the background.
Well, no, it's actually from the BBC's YouTube channel, BBC Free YouTube channel.
Oh, okay.
From the source that I used.
Well, if I remember rightly, I have heard on one or two channels that the BBC is quite uppity about its content. So even though you may have fair use,
BBC
they will
is
just make it. They will just make it difficult for you.
They're freaking hardcore BBC,
so
man.
It appears that the BBC are one of those kind of broadcasters that doesn't take kindly to people using their material, even if it is to comment on their material. So even though you are perfectly within your rights to do that, they will challenge it just in order to give you a hard time.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that's the reason why they've done it, because I could have done two choices. I could have just took the 1 minute 31 out and then carried on and then not have it done, because the rest of it's fine. And I mean, there's probably about 15 minutes of the people actually just talking, and mine's probably around about 10 minutes. So I know that the rest of it's fine. So I could have just took the 1 minute out, or I could have done what I said and like, how can I portray their points by doing it in a non-biased way if I'm the one that's speaking? Because I have a bias towards it. So how can I do that under fair use?
Yeah.
Personally, I think I'll be fine with it, but it just goes to show you, as you said, that you can't. They're not copyrighting the person's point of views or anything. They're copyrighting the music. That's how mundane and how picky that they're being with the copyright strikes now.
Yeah, but as I say, I think when it comes to YouTube, the BBC are generally known to be completely uncooperative. So they will just simply strike just for the sake of it, even if they, in a way, must know that they haven't really got an entitlement to strike you.
No, just like you said, to hang out. It's the same. People do it all the time in business, man. It's like they have the lawyers, so why not just sue you? Because now you're an individual. I don't care if you're a wealthy individual. You got like 25 million in the bank, right? But now Monsanto sues you, and they've got the unlimited in the bank and 50 lawyers for this specific. You know what I mean? And so it's the same principle. You just do it to them.
I've got a little bit of a headache on that issue then, because I've obviously with the grooming gangs videos that I've done, I used obviously the BBC's running clips, as in the news articles and the news clips, and I used them and I didn't cut into them too much at all, and they're well over a minute or 2 minutes long before I even cut into most of them. So is it just the music that I've got copyrighted for? Because if so, which it looks like it probably is, then I can use news clips all the time because that hasn't been copyrighted at all.
It's a difficult one, as I say. With the BBC, I would just basically, if I am looking for a video, then yes, you can use the BBC occasionally. But by and large, I kind of try and stay away from their content just simply due to the fact that they are so awkward. And if you have to have stuff reviewed, it can take 2 or 3 weeks before it's back up again.
Yeah, no, it's just I'm probably going to do this out of principle because obviously I don't make any money from doing this YouTube stuff anyway. So I'm probably going to do this out of principle. I'm just going to go against the BBC as often as they copyright me, and if necessary, I will just, I don't know, go to court over it because the Fair Use Act is universal. So I probably would end up doing that, just simply because I will not be silenced, not because I feel that my voice is perfect or anything, because my views are flawed, like most humans' views are. But at the same time, I should be able to speak about it if it's contained with fair use.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just putting something in the side chat for Lock.
Yeah, and I just realized that I didn't send him that damn thing. I just did. This is poisoning the well. Lock, you gotta check these boys out, man.
Oh. We just seem to have duplicated each other here. You've just sent him the channel, I think, and I just sent him the Logic versus Almond Skeptic clip.
Forget about what I said. And I mean, the link to their channel's on what the British are saying, but that's the one you want. They sit and BS for a minute, and then they do, hey, there's no copyright on it. Yeah, y'all don't want to sit through it, though. I got to remember this, though. This is one of the songs I can play, Brett. There's no copyright on this. These boys don't care if I use it. I could jam this whenever I want to play some music. You know, this. I mean, this is so funny, too.
Oh, is this? Yes, this is with the Bulgarian girl, isn't it?
It's the, yeah.
I think she was someone from Bulgaria's Got Talent or something like that. She did the...
These boys are something else, man. Sandwiches. I don't know. I've watched this too many times. I know the damn song. That's so hilarious. Oh, Lord have mercy. Very overproduced. I mean, they have some cars in here. I don't know how they talk these people into litany.
Well, no, they didn't. They according to the clip, they borrowed them from a friend of theirs who's got more money than sense.
Yeah, well, there was a 15-year-old girl driving this car, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was a 14-year-old boy, actually.
Or whatever, 14-year-old kid.
So basically, they borrowed them, and the person they borrowed them from, their friend, was in Las Vegas. So it's more than likely fair to say the person from whom they borrowed it didn't actually know his cars were being borrowed at the time. And because the person who was supposed to drive the $500,000 Mercedes wasn't actually there by the time they wanted to start doing the video shoot, they just found some kid. So it was a 14-year-old kid that was driving that car at the time.
And they do some great shots. I've watched this, Britt, and I never see the driver of that car. And you know they didn't just let this car, this is a $500,000 freaking car. You don't just let this thing roll on its own and hope you can jump in it, because if it gets a scratch on it, man, I mean, oh my gracious.
No, it's just brilliant all the way through. That video could easily be on MTV. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, easily be on MTV. Anyway, check that out, dude. And there's a lot more on here. You get the morons talking. And the guy that looks kind of normal is a stand-up comedian named Fat Pat. And the dude that looks like he stepped out of 1991. That's so fake. They're pretty good. Good times.
I saw one about Leafy's here, so that kind of caught my eye a little bit. It's like a drinking game or something.
don't drink, man, for God's sake.
I know. I'm talking about the video.
Oh, well, whatever. Watch the video. I've seen
He
Leafy
spotted a cultural reference that kind of, works for him as opposed to, someone who stepped out of the 1990s. So basically, the moment he saw Leafy is here, it immediately piqued his interest. That was beautiful. That was just the most patronizing head shake there one could possibly imagine. Just that little shake of the head as in sort of, oh, shut up, old man.
Who, me? No, not me. I was looking over here at the...
No, that was definitely coming from Lock. It was definitely coming from Lock. Just a sort of brief shake of the head as in sort of just shut up.
No, I'm not. I wasn't saying that as all. If anything, I'm glad someone got my point.
Well, we're right here, boys. It's 5 o'clock. That means the bell's about ready to ring. So, you know what I like to do. I already said it. So I hope you got something ready, Lock. If not, you fail the class. And then we'll go right down the line to Common Sense Guy to British and myself. What do you got to say? It doesn't matter. Could have something to do with what we talked about today. Could be just something that you've always wanted to say to 14 people. Whatever it may be. That's all it is. And you got as much time as you want, up to 5 minutes. Then the Britisher comes in and rings a dong.
I ring a dong? I didn't know.
Don't you have a gong? Like a dong? I broke my bell.
Well, anyway, has anyone got anything to say? Because the silence is deafening.
Yeah.
Well, Lock's the one going first.
It's on Lock. It's on him. We'll give him time. Let's give him 15 seconds of silence if he wants to be outdo the god of cringe.
Like my first time on here.
Okay, well, I honestly only made it 6 seconds, dude. That was it. You beat me. God of cringe. You are. We'll call you the Lord of cringe. So piss off, kid. What do you got to say, Common Sense Guy?
Not too much as my normal rant. Pretty much, if you ever got to do something with YouTube or you think you're going somewhere in life, whether or not you think you're good enough or not good enough, it doesn't matter on that aspect of things. Always have a backup plan, and the backup plan is always to be academic as possible. Always have those bits of paper that people need for you to say that you know what you're talking about. Because we've talked about this before. If you've got your citations and your points and your points of view, if people don't agree with you, they will just call you a crackpot or a racist or a bigot or whatever nowadays. And then your views and your points have gone. Make sure you get that education that you can rely on and push forward and say, no, I'm educated in this. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing. Because no matter what you do in the future, you've always got something there that you can always go back to, that you can always do. The thing about being famous is everybody chases it. Not many people attain it, no matter if you're good or you're not. It's all about who you know, not what you know, on that aspect to become famous. But in the aspect of being knowledgeable and being able to speak the truth, it's what you know, not who you know. You've got to get a balance. And as we've always said, always before, you've got to get that balance that's in your life and make sure that you attain it. I'll pass that back on now. I've finished rambling.
Okay, so it turns out y'all were talking to me and I was zoned out.
Pretty much.
I thought y'all weren't talking to me. So anyways, I want to mention before we end this, the double standards we have. Maybe I should get into this. Okay, so it's double standard with races, and I'm not going to get into this too much because I don't want anyone too offended. But if another race says something, they usually don't get punished as much as if a white person said something. And there's plenty of examples of that on the internet, such as the African Americans beating up the disabled white people. Apparently wasn't a hate crime. But if we switch the roles around, then it would be obviously a hate crime, and it would just everyone would flip out. I know that's kind of off topic, but that's just what I wanted to say. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you got enough cringe from me.
No,
My
thanks,
channel is Prankster Lock.
Good Jew joke in the side chat, you bastard. No, good job, kid. Good job.
Well, when it comes to my day, I guess it was kind of ruined by watching the news and hearing the basically head of the Crown Prosecution Service announce that one wanted now to clamp down on hate speech online. This despite already 15,000 successful prosecutions per year on hate crime going through the courts. One basically envisages a nightmare about to come true online. So please understand that if you're looking at this from an American perspective, you are looking at it saying, oh, darn YouTube, darn Google. These are merely people who are basically trying to stop you from speaking. But now please imagine the situation as it is in Britain, where they're not just merely trying to stop you from speaking, they're trying to deter you from speaking. And should you not heed that deterrence, they will literally try and lock you up. And that is perhaps just about the worst case, you know, the worst imaginable situation when it comes to free speech. And we all, I mean, I guess you can imagine in America what it looks like over here on the BBC. They are trotting out 15-year-old girls who are in tears, who are totally traumatized because they were bullied online. And you just think, okay, yeah, in situations like that, yeah, one can perhaps argue that there is some sense to it. But we all know that that is not how it gets applied in the end. It gets applied to people saying the wrong thing. And what the wrong thing is, that just depends on whichever militant gets hold of it at any given moment. In the case of Count Dankula, it was because he made a Nazi joke. Now, you know, what other joke would fall into that sphere? The list is endless. And the thing is that the worst kind of laws are the ones where you can't even foresee what might get you in trouble. So even if you try and avoid getting yourself in trouble, you try to be a good little boy, and you try to only stay with things that are non-controversial, you could still be caught out by this. And remember, in this case, it doesn't just mean that Google may take your video down. In this case, it would actually mean that you might get a knock on the door. So, to me, this really is the sort of, that Ogre likes to ask me, are there any things that annoy me? This is the sort of thing that really annoys me. When I saw this on television today, yes, I must admit, my blood was boiling. Because I know how bad it already is. I know Count Dankula. We speak on Twitter, we DM each other sometimes. So in that regard, I know how it is for someone who is under such a charge and has done absolutely nothing wrong. And now to think that they wish to multiply this misery, and better still, they wish to do so under the banner of being fair and just. And they will actually sell it to us as this being virtuous, this being a public good. Whereas in reality, they are creating a nightmare. So anyway, sorry, I know I'm not really going anywhere with this other than just expressing my inner rage. But yes, I think that's about as non-constructive as I can be for the moment. So over to you, Mr. Ogre.
Oh, well, in my opinion, I appreciate it when someone, and if that was your inner rage, sir, you should work on that a little bit. I didn't expect you to be quite done then. So I might take a little toke of my vaporizer before I continue. There's something on my heart and on my mind. And it's important, and I'm glad that Locke is here. And even though we can't see him, I hope that he can still hear me. And if he can't hear me now, I hope he comes and watches this later. Because you know what? I talked to Nachi Free. Nachi Free tells me about, his mother and father. I know, and I wish I knew for sure, but I know his mother was in a work camp. you know, a concentration camp, whatever you want to call it, whatever the newfangled Cuban name was. And let me put it this way. Che Guevara is not a hero. I don't want people like Locke, his age, seeing people, you know, like Mike Tyson. I mentioned it before. Brett and I'll be calm. I don't want Mike to beat me up, but you know, he's got Che Guevara tattooed on his chest. Why? He's not a hero. He's a scum. He's not a very, he didn't have very good ideas. Let me leave off the ad hominem attacks for, you know, for the sake of genteelness. For me wanting my idea to be a good one. Che Guevara was not a good guy. It's not only that he wasn't a good guy, communism, socialism gave him a platform and an ability to be a horrible, horrible human being, to be a mass murderer. And now I got to look at Yvette Ferrarca punching this dude in the ribs, and even the mainstream media is calling him a white supremacist. I don't know what the guy is. I wish that I knew more about the fella that Yvette was punching as she incited that riot and maliciously, feloniously assaulted that gentleman. And I'll tell you, as an American, if she doesn't do one or two things, she could plead it out. And I'm sure if it's her first offense, they'd be very easy on her. And she may not even do any jail time. But she would definitely have a low felony on her record and all this other stuff. She wouldn't be able to teach anymore like she does. Look, the good thing about Yvette Ferrarca is this is the law. It is the law. It's not a bunch of thugs, be they with white pointy hats or black masks and flags that come directly from Nazi Germany. The Antifa flag is a reproduction of a Nazi flag. It's just look into it. You talk about their anti-fascists. They are fascists. I know what happens in the end. Benito Mussolini gets hung up by his heels with his wife at a gas station. Dead. And Hitler gets bombed to hell and gone in his bunker with Eva Braun and their dog while they sing the Horst Wessel song or whatever the hell they did. They're gone. They're gone. There is no racism. Locke is not racist. Britisher's not racist. The common sense guy, he's got too much common sense to be racist. Do we prejudge people because they're not from Manchester or wherever we're from? If they're not from our town, well, yeah, of course we do. That's human nature. That's part of our defense mechanism. Do we have to let that be a bigoted part of us? No. Are all white men evil? No. I don't want to watch my race become the next ones that will need to march down the streets and be torn apart by dogs and sprayed with high pressure fireman's hoses, folks. Don't call me alt-right. Well, you can if you want, but I'm not. I just don't want to see any race downtrodden. And right now, look for yourself, and maybe in the comments or someone can tell me later what race they see being horrifically misrepresented, misused, and marginalized. And remember, everybody, listen, be good to your friends, be good to your family members, be good to your loved ones. Be quick to say you're sorry. Be even quicker to accept an apology, especially when that thing your friend, your family member, your loved one has done seems to be so huge, you'll never be able to forget about it. Because constant viewers, listen, at a time you think not, your friends, your family members, your loved ones, your life, and your cause will depart from you. Hey, thanks for coming by, Locke.